All right, we're back here. Here are the answers from that first video from problems 2 and 3. I named my first perpendicular bisector line M. That's my first line of reflection. And then my second one, I named it line AB. And then you see how the function notations of those reflections come out in the equation there. So let's now move on to example 4. And number 4 here is the highest level of this that we're going to do. Number 4 wants us to actually reflect this figure ABCD across line EF. And then notice how I crossed out the second part of that sentence. It says, using a mirror and a ruler. You don't know what a mirror is yet. I'll show you what that is later. And we can use a ruler, but there's actually a better way. So I'd like to teach you the better way. So here's what we're going to do. And this is our essential question, to actually reflect the image across the line. So we want to make sure we can do this well. So this is what we're going to do. We need to move each of these points across to the other side. So here's one method we could use. We're going to line up on F, the end point of the line of reflection, and let's move point C first. We're going to line up on point C. And I'm just going to draw a little arc there. All right. Next, I'm going to go to the other side of the line of reflection. So I'm going to go on E now and get my pencil on C. Let me just turn this around. So now I'm on E and C, and I'm going to create a line of reflection, or another arc as well. You notice my two arcs cross on this side. That's where C prime is. So I can do that for every single point, just making an arc from one side of the line of reflection, one endpoint, and then doing the same thing on the opposite endpoint. So here I'm doing point D. All right, so there's D prime where those two intersect. All right, and then let's just finish those up. Finding B prime now. B prime almost ends up on the directions. If you look at it, B prime ends up here. And the last one we need is A prime. So let's erase before I do my last one so I can make sure you can see it. So I don't really need these lines. Once I'm done with them, I can erase these lines. So once those are gone, I want to do A is the only one I'm missing. And then what if I didn't want to draw the whole line? I don't really have to. I know it's going to meet up over here somewhere. So here, I'll do A, and then from E to A prime, E to A rather will give me A prime. Okay, and that's going to be A prime. So this shape actually does cross over through the directions, but that's all right. Okay. All right, how do we know that's a perfect reflection? Well, there's a few ways we can test it. We can measure it with the ruler and make sure that those measurements are the same. You can check those measurements. Another way we can check is line EF should be a perpendicular bisector. So I should be at 90 degrees every time I hit point C and C prime. My measurement of my protractor should be at 90 degrees. So those are just a couple ways to check your work. The other way, of course, is to use one of these transparency papers, and you would be able to just flip it around. Let me show you that really quick. So we'd go here, here, and here. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to actually sketch the line of reflection, and then we're going to flip it right on that line of reflection. So I'm going to flip it over, and as you can see, it matches up with the shape I drew. So lots of ways to check. The key piece is using the compass accurately to find each additional point. Okay, and if I want to name this in function notation really quick, we would have lowercase r, that's a reflection, over line of reflection EF, and we reflected this quadrilateral ABCD. I ran out of space here, so I'm going to write it below. And we get quadrilateral A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime after the reflection. Okay, so on this next page now, you've got 4 practice problems. Finding the line of reflection, and then one you're actually rotating an object, or excuse me, reflecting an object. Another push-up mistake. When you're done with this, when you're complete with these 4, this practice, let's find the exit ticket for lesson 14. I'm going to have that in the homework pile today. I know it's not homework, but you're going to have it in the homework pile. I want you to actually turn this in at the end of the class. So turn in your exit ticket at the end of the class. It's in the homework pile, even though it's not homework. Turn that in at the end of the class. If you finish that, I've got kind of a special activity for you to do, because you're probably at the point where you're done and you need something else to do. So a special activity for you to do. You're going to create your own original composition. A composition is a series of rotations, reflections, translations. So it's 1 or more rigid motion, or excuse me, 2 or more rigid motions. So you're going to draw a shape. First one. You're going to be creative with it. Don't just draw like a basic triangle. Draw a shape, name it with points, and then rotate it around any point and by any degree. So you choose where you want to rotate it, and you choose by what degree. Don't choose like 90 degrees or 180. Challenge yourself. Don't make it simple. Next thing, so now you've rotated it. What you're going to do is you're going to take that image and then you're going to reflect it over a line of reflection. So you're actually going to show what it looks like after it's reflected. So you're going to have an original shape, you're going to have the rotated shape, and then you're going to have the reflected shape. So that's 3 shapes that should be on your paper. And if you did it right, all 3 of those shapes should be congruent. The final step is to name it in function notation. You can do this on the back of your notes packet. That's where I wrote these instructions, if you have space for that. If you want a completely blank paper, you can grab a computer paper and use that. But you've seen what I have around the walls here. If I want you to come up with something that's really, really well thought out, really precise, has some color in it, maybe we'll put it on the wall, just like Carlos's wrench, maybe. Okay. Last thing, if you do finish this up early, the last thing you can do is, we have had 2 learning logs so far this unit. Lesson 12 and 13 is 1 learning log, and then lesson 14, this lesson, would be another. So those are 2 things you can do if you finish this early. Okay? Hit me up with questions tonight if you're having any trouble through email. Otherwise, I'll see you guys Friday. Take care.